Hi all, and thanks for being with me. I've been thinking a lot lately about what makes a good leader. Now, we've got many examples around the world whereby we've had some pretty crappy leaders. I can think of Johnson in the UK. I can certainly think of Donald Trump in the US. And I also would, in that category, put also Dutton. And I've been wondering about what is it about those guys that irritate me the most, and whether or not there's something about them that needs to be highlighted so that we could better understand what it is that makes a good or a bad leader. And it seems to me that many people have voted for these people because they have the perception that they are a good leader. I mean, you're not going to elect somebody into a position of power and authority unless, for whatever reason, you believe that they have the qualities that you think are important to be able to implement the changes that you want so that they can deliver to you the acquired or required policies and so forth that are going to make life better for everybody. And I guess that's an underlying belief that we tend to have about politicians, that is their job. We would hope that that's the case, that's the ideal, but that's not necessarily true. In the case of Trump in particular, and many other politicians around the world, including here in Australia, there are politicians who wish to gather power, authority, and to be able to enhance their own well-being as opposed to the well-being of the communities. So this is a problem. And I came across an interesting TEDx talk the other day that inspired me. In fact, I'll put a link to this guy I'm about to show you. His name is Martin Goodman. And Martin is described as a management historian, which I thought was an interesting title. So he looks at the way people have managed over time, and he's got, in this example, he's got a couple of explorers and how they're so different. And one of the stories he tells is about two people, they have to cross a river, and the river is rushing, and there's lots of rocks and everything, and the guy that dives in and swims across, tries to swim across it, but struggles, can't, comes back to the other side, is exhausted. He hasn't made it, but at least he's tried. And then, and it's a bit of a catastrophe for him. And the other person who simply has worked out how to get across this river and can get there safely and has understood the current and how to negotiate all of that, has planned, has strategized, and gets across the other side. The person who actually struggled to do so and in fact failed is more likely to receive the accolades, the recognition, than the person who successfully managed to cross this river. So, and it's a good example, I think, of how we view politicians. So we see politicians that have gone from one crisis to another, and certainly Trump is one of those, and I believe to some extent Dutton fits into that category, particularly when he was immigration minister and the problems that he didn't solve. But however, they do tend to confront these issues but don't necessarily successfully overcome the problem. And as a result of that, they're seen as at least people making an effort and at least trying to do so. And so what is good management? Is good management somebody who has implemented policies, done the changes, has got it done? And I would see Biden in that category. Lots of issues with Biden. I've still got issues with Albanese, I hasten to add. But nevertheless, they seem to get things done. But that isn't what the people recognise. People recognise that it's like the person who shouts the most, who's the most obnoxious individual at a party, and how he or she gets recognised for being loud. They get identified. They get talked about. They become the important part of whatever it was they were involved in. And the people that are quietly sitting back, having a drink, doing nothing, who are just having general conversations, they're the ones that don't get recognised, don't get identified. So we do have this habit to be able to identify those people that are the loudest and usually the most obnoxious, and particularly in terms of Trump, say the most ridiculous and outlandish things. They're the ones that we see as leaders, and it's wrong. It's a fallacy. And Martin talks about this, and I'll just play the video for you so you can hear at least part of what he has to say.
Perhaps worst of all, it's a self-perpetuating cycle, because by celebrating these flawed, action-oriented leaders, we're actively creating more of them. So this is a problem that we need to solve. The good news is we can. And it starts with reimagining what good leadership looks like. And there's two sides to this. First, we have to learn to ignore what we can call the captains of crisis, the Shackletons, those who are lurching from one dramatic circumstance to another. While some crises can't be avoided, many are self-inflicted or amplified by poor leadership, or sometimes just a figment of their imagination. Keith Grint, the preeminent scholar of leadership today, brilliantly summarizes this problematic dynamic. Since we reward people who are good in crises and ignore people who are such good managers that there are few crises, people soon learn to seek out or reframe situations as crises. We need to disincentivize this style of leadership by refusing to give these people the attention they crave. And that's easy when we're confronted with the sober facts. Amundsen's 4 successes, Shackleton's 4 failures. But as soon as it's embedded in a story, the dramatic details pull us in like a magnet and give us a false sense of inspiration. False because there's no real substance there. Instead, we need to learn to celebrate those who mitigate rather than promote drama. And this can be challenging because often they do so in very subtle ways, below the surface of the water, in the case of our swimmer. Right? They're obsessive planners. They build processes that align the organization's strength with the unique challenges they face. And they're authentic and create cultures that bring out the best in people.
And I guess that's the point that I'm trying to make, is that we pay a lot of attention to these people that create crises, but they don't have substance at all. So it's all the noise, the loudness of everything that they're doing, the obnoxious behaviour that they have. And that is what appears, and this is what I find interesting, is often that's what appears to create the interest for us. And they're the ones that people tend to gravitate to because they are the ones that we believe are true leaders. And as Martin says, we need to find ways to understand that and to ignore it, and to look for those people that are achieving certain goals and who are organised in doing so, and who take us to a place that we want to go. I was going to play some videos of Trump being Trump and being relatively stupid and ignorant and a moron, and something of Dutton being the same, but not to the same extreme. But I guess, and I won't do that because I don't want to bore you with that, but what I want us to think about is, what is it that defines a good leader? What are we looking for? And whether or not the people that we support are providing the leadership that we want, or whether they are people that just go from crisis to crisis, that have got no real policies to develop, or they refuse to present those policies. And when I think of that, I think of Dutton and the nuclear issue, and whether they're attacking people all the time, whether that's their modus operandi is to be able to continue to attack, to put down, to denigrate, to make as much noise as they can to get the headlines, to get recognised. And I often think in that category, I often think of Pauline Hanson, Senator Babbitt, and other people within the parliamentary system who are continually looking for that headline. And does that necessarily make them good leaders? And why is it that we follow some of these people? What is there about them that motivates us to be interested enough to support them? They're the thoughts I've had, and I'd be really interested in your comments below. So do remember to subscribe to my channel, ring the bell, make a comment below as well in relation to any of the things that I've talked about. And if there's something in particular that you think should be talked about, please let me know, and I will endeavour to do so. And also, if you've got a disagreement with some of the things that I have to say, then I do encourage you to contact me and let me know whether you'd like to come on this channel and have a conversation with me about the things that are important to you, because they're important to me. In the meantime, take care, look after yourselves, and more importantly, be safe.